Hello and welcome to the Sunshine Spotlight. My name is James Campion, and this is the very first episode in which we are going to be talking about, thank goodness, a festival on October 8th and 9th. And one of the alumni of who helped us out so much in 2019 is back to play, and that is Abby Hamilton, and she joins us today from Lexington, Kentucky. Welcome, Abby.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm
Of,
pumped.
of course. Congratulations for joining the team for, I know you did a garden session, which we'll talk about in a bit, but let's start with this. How did it go for you during the quarantine, creatively, emotionally, all those things? I know we talked about it briefly this week, but please share with the audience what it was like because I've been doing this now since last August, and I've been hearing these stories from artists, how they dealt with it. How was it for you?
It was rough. It was really rough. I like right before the quarantine started, we were like ramping into high gear for touring. And had kind of gotten all my ducks in the row for like, all right, we're gonna hit the ground running in 2020, as most everybody did. And then it was gone. And in an emotional and a mental sense, I was like, okay, who am I without this pace? And the like keeping your head down mentality that I've had for so long, I realized how out of touch I was with myself. So I spent a lot of months in that early part of quarantine writing and digging in deep with, you know, who I was and what I wanted out of the career of my life and my relationships. And got to August, and the one of my best friends and producers, Dwayne Lundy, who did my Afraid of the Dark EP, hit me up and was like, all right, it's probably about time to hit the studio then. So we masked up and went in from October to December. I made a full-length album, which is insane. So it was surprisingly like one of the most creative times of my life. And I think it's because of the fluidity and the work I did to get comfortable with myself, in the room by myself and not just in the van or surrounded by people all the time and overstimulated. I had nowhere to go, I had to write. So I'm grateful for it.
That's great. Yeah, I think I mentioned to you this week when we spoke that I used the time to work on a book because I had that time. I didn't have to be anywhere, and I've interviewed tons of people, whether it's Matt Susage or Eric Hutchinson, the girls in Kid Sister. They used that period to reconnect with themselves, with the music, and they were forced to be home, so they were creative during that period.
Yep.
And I think that's great. And by the way, it's so. Getting back to the first part of what you said, which is we were ready to go. You released an EP called Afraid of the Dark, which is brilliant. I was spending a lot of time the last couple of days listening to it. That must have been difficult to have something like that come out and then not be able to play it live because you had been playing those songs. I've seen you play some of those songs. It's on YouTube live. You played two of the songs, I think Big Time and Afraid of the Dark, at the Underwater Sunshine Garden session. So that must have been, you finally had something out. How did you deal with that?
It was weird. It was like a really, and in some ways it was awesome to have this like moment of putting out music and just experiencing putting it out, like not having to do anything afterwards, but just put it into the world and celebrate with other people as they're experiencing it.
Sure.
So on that hand, it was a wonderful experience. On the other hand, then we would get to end of June or July, right when everybody's like, can we do concerts right now?
Right, yes.
No, so it's like these outdoor, like super weird, super awkward experiences as people are trying to, like in Kentucky, we were completely messed up through the entire time. So we would do these outdoor concerts that were all social distance. So then all of a sudden I was playing these songs to lots of people very quickly. I was like, oh God, I had no prep time for this,
Yeah.
But I learned a lot. I feel like it was a really cool call up for professionalism and making music. And I don't know. It was weird. It was really weird.
Underline weird. The operative word
Yeah.
there is weird,
Yeah.
especially for performing artists. Listening to your stuff more intently these last couple of days, I jotted some notes down. I hear a lot of Emmylou in there. I hear a lot of Townes Van Zandt. I hear a lot of Lucinda Williams, Patty Griffin, the people that I love that sort of toe or walk that tightrope between folk rock and real country. I mean, I wrote down also, I think Big Time off of Afraid of the Dark is one of the most pure country songs I've heard, because country music now has taken a turn into pop rock. I've had a lot of friends tell me I listen to a lot of country now because there isn't a lot of pop rock music out there that use guitars in the traditional way. But I mean, Big Time is a true country song. Tell me where your influences come from. Tell me what kind of music you think you are creating.
Mm. Well, thank you. That's amazing. Those are all my favorite people too.
Good.
I don't know. I grew up in a super conservative Christian home, so most of my first exposure to music was that of 90s CCM. So we're talking like early Stephen Curtis Chapman and
Wow.
Amy Grant and all that stuff, which I love. I have such a special place in my heart for. Outside of that, my dad would only really ever listen to Sting and U2 and a little bit of Garth Brooks. So that was like my first introduction into music. And what a wonderful introduction it was. It was quite anthemic and large and huge instrumentation, like huge sonic soundscapes, especially when you get into the U2, like the Octung Baby world and all that stuff. But my grandpa and my grandma were old school country music fans. So anytime I would go over to their house, it was George Jones, Johnny Cash, Loretta Lynn. And I loved it. I immediately fell in love. So that was at an early age, all the music I listened to was, old school, really traditional country. And as I started to first make music, that was all I wanted to make, was like honky tonk, swing, traditional country music. As I've grown as a songwriter, it's been amazing to watch all of those influences start to come in, especially with the record we just finished. It touches a little bit in the Afraid of the Dark experience in the song like Fast, where, and Change Things too, where I can look back on it now and see where I was trying to get bigger and larger, right? But also have the voicing and the intimacy of what a country heartbreak song has. So moving forward, that's really the direction I'm going. I'm trying to open up the sonic soundscape to be large and an experience and an emotional response, but have pretty narrative, intimate experiences lyrically, which is what I love probably the most about Townes Van Zandt and Lucinda and Patty. Like I love them. And that's really the experience I have with their music as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because as a writer, I love good lyrics. That's why I do that podcast with Adam, one of the great lyricists in music, and write books about it. And I was moved by a couple of things you wrote. One of them made me smile, because being an author that's not Stephen King or a celebrity or anything like that, when you sing, you can't make a living off your royalties.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like a solidarity fist pumper right there.
It is.
It's a personal thing, but it's an artist thing you think about, that you're making this music, you're writing this work, and you wish you could just kick back and do it all the time. But we got to eat, we got to pay rent, we got to have money to be able to tour for your on your aspect of it. That one, and if I could touch upon Afraid of the Dark, and we're going to play a video of it right after this, and I want to talk about this song specifically, but I jotted down when you sang this. I think the refrain in is, I had a dream about you dying in it. And it was right after my dad passed. I think the last Underwater Sunshine Festival was like the 9th of November. My father died like on the 27th, 28th of October. So that was a tough one for me. But when I heard you sing that, it really hit me in a certain way where, when you're young, you think about, my parents are going to go, or, people that so that's the kind of intimacy I think I get out of your lyrics. I wonder how that resonates with you.
That's insane. I don't think I knew that. Yeah, I don't know. That song is a really, really personal song for me, which is crazy because it's not totally my story. It was inspired by a friend of a friend who had passed away, and that friend had told me pretty much that hook. He said I used to have dreams about him dying. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's how I've had so many friends and family members who were addicts or just people that were close to me that died when I was at a very young age for myself. A lot of my older family members who I was close to passed away when I was 9, 10 years old. And there's an experience I think you have with empathy where you love and you care for someone so deeply that in that anxiety sometimes you can, like you're saying, you can picture, you're like, I think about this person dying and what would I do? I don't know. And then when it actually happens, it's incredibly hard to prepare for. So I
Yes.
think, yeah, that song for me was a very stream of consciousness experience. I was writing on it as a voice memo in my phone just to go back to and write it later, and then that voice memo word for word became what the song was. So it really has been such an amazing experience to hear people's stories, because to me that song was about addiction, and almost every person that has said something to me about that song, it has not been about that. Their interpretation or their experience with it has been completely different, and that's such a wild experience to have as a songwriter. It's really cool.
Yeah, you nailed it for me because, I would often have dreams, I think as we all do, what life would be out, no matter how old you are, without your parents or people you
Yeah,
love. But then when it happens, there's no way to prepare. I mean, it's probably your subconscious trying to help you prepare for grief,
totally.
but there's no way you could do it. And it's such an intimate, beautiful song. And I love this video. Let's check it out. This is after Afraid of the Dark, which came out in May of 2020, I think. Or is that
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Around then? Yeah. Let's check out the video. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it was like the third week of May of 2020.
Yeah, I think on Spotify, it's funny. It comes out June 12th, which is actually my anniversary, my wedding
Oh,
anniversary. So I remembered that. But I think this came out in late May. Or anyway, this is the title track from the EP, Afraid of the Dark. This is Abby Hamilton.
I'm not really afraid of the dark. Just robbers, rapists, home invaders, sharks and perfect front lawns. So if you could walk me home tonight, that'd be real nice. I know the party ain't over yet. It's just getting to that point where I'm checking under everybody's beds to make sure you haven't slipped away to some dark corner. 'Cause I've had dreams about you dying and it kills me. You want an empty body, here have mine. I've smoked a lot, but it makes me dizzy, so I might hold you for some time. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to make a joke. You've emptied me of all my redirective rhetoric, and I've got nowhere else to go, and we've got nothing left to show. 'Cause I've had dreams about you dying and it kills me. Yeah, I've had dreams about you dying and it kills me. I give you my whole life. and I'll feel it. I'll cry, you'll say you don't need it. La 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 la
That is Afraid of the Dark, a wonderful video from 2020, title track from Abby Hamilton's last record. She's got a new one in the can. We'll talk about that in a second. But a couple of things. The scene where you're singing and you're moving, gliding, it's like this trick that Spike Lee did in a lot of his movies.
Yeah.
How did you guys, and I love when the cars pass too. How did you guys do that?
That was the brainchild of my dear friend John Sang, who produced and directed and shot that video all in. We did that in like 4 hours, which is insane. I sat on the back of the truck bed, so it's literally a truck. I'm sitting on the, like, what do you call the door, and John is in the cab, like in the front, shooting at me that way. So we literally shot on Manchester Street in Lexington, Kentucky at like 12:45 in the morning, back and forth and back and forth. My brother laid down in the truck bed and held my ankles to make
good.
sure I didn't fall.
Yeah, that was my next question.
Yeah. I was secure. I was safe.
You had to sing the whole song that way? Yeah, right? So he can cut parts of it. Yeah.
We tried it a few times.
What's that? How many times?
We did it probably 2 or 3 times and just crossed our fingers that we wouldn't get pulled over.
or fall out of the back of the truck. I love this line. I'm not really afraid of the dark, just robbers, rapists, home invaders, sharks, and perfect front lawns. Please explain.
Those are all the things I'm pretty afraid of.
You're afraid of not having the perfect front lawn, or anyone with a perfect front lawn?
If it's too perfect, if I see it, I'm like, there's something wrong, right?
Right.
Too much time on your hands.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Well,
too afraid of what people think of you. Maybe that's my first thought.
Well done. And well, you are coming from the Kentucky bluegrass area. All right. Couple of things. The new music. You said you could see the evolution of it on your EP with a couple of the songs. What is it you think that this new music will define this part of your career? Do you have a feeling that, okay, I've arrived, this is what I sound like? Or do you feel like you're still on that journey? I mean, there's no way you could guess, but I'm wondering what you're feeling right now about your art.
I feel like I'm pretty solidified for the first time ever. I have found a sound that I thought integrated all influences and collaboration, and it's really the first record that I have written most of these songs about myself, not just about observation of other people, which was a great experience, I think, through the COVID
Right.
world.
Yeah, sure.
But I think it has opened the doors too. As we finished the record, I found myself writing more after than I was even before. So it's definitely, I think, tipped the domino effect has started, I think. But I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of the sound, very proud of where it's at. For the first time ever, I think, that I've ever, had something recorded that I was like, I love it. I love all of it,
Wow, congratulations. That's great to hear.
Thank you.
What's the title, and when will we be hearing this stuff?
I don't have a title yet. I'm still trying to figure that one out. And I'm hoping by spring of next year, we'll start releasing stuff.
Great. I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully, as the co-host of the podcast and the host of the show, I don't know if you could see me winking, I might be able to hear some tracks before everybody else.
Hey.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's talk about the festival. you were a huge part of the 2019 festival. You were brought there, I believe, and we talked about this earlier, our good friend Felipe.
Yes.
Who is one of the great artists and has done, Counting Crows covers and all that other stuff, brought you into the fold. And you played the garden sessions, but you just came to help out and you became a part of the community. Talk about what that meant and what we do and what people can expect to see and how excited you are about what we're going to do in a couple of months.
Man, it was so cool. Felipe had hit me up probably a month or two before that before 2019, and just said, "Hey, I'm on the board for this thing. Do you want to come basically be an intern and hang out?" And I was like, "Duh, like, of course I do. That sounds amazing." And Diego is one of my best friends. I've grown up with Diego for a long time, so. It was one of the coolest experiences ever. I was so grateful to be a part of that festival and then also just meet everybody involved. Like, I feel like I really connected with people doing what I was doing in New York in the same way, and really, really cool. Adam's the coolest. Zoe, everybody involved, I felt like I really connected and made some great friends. And then the garden session thing, I think, was literally just there was time in the schedule and they were like, does anybody else want to play? And then me and Diego got up there like with our songs. So that was really cool. It was really, really cool. I am so honored to be invited back, especially to play and just get to hang out and hopefully bring the full band and get to meet everybody. It's a really wonderful experience. So I'm pumped.
Yeah, the great thing about that whole experience was, so I was introduced to you. I didn't know what you were doing there. You were part of it, right? And then all of a sudden you're in the middle of it. Yeah. And you're so quiet and so unassuming. And I didn't know when I was introduced to you, no one said, and we should say Felipe Molina is his last name. Great. Check out his work online. But he introduced me and we were talking, and then you're so quiet and so unassuming that then you came up and sang and we were floored. And if anybody has a chance to watch those garden sessions online, please do, because they're just beautiful and you really dug deep for that. And I'm wondering how that felt for you, because you're just helping out and then all of a sudden now you're in the front and you're playing a freaking song, 2 songs. Yeah.
I remember being nervous, so nervous. Just not because of the people, but just like the situation.
Sure.
I was like, no prep time. Adam's sitting right there. I barely know Adam. And then everybody else involved is like just watching the cameras and everyone's like, go, go, go. I remember being terrified, but it was so amazing. It was so worth it. I'm grateful for that experience. I feel like I was welcomed with open arms and treated great. So honored to have had that opportunity for sure.
Yeah, we were too. And I just watched the YouTube clip of the garden sessions at the end of Big Time. You can hear me go, yeah. I know my voice. That's my, yeah. Like when you're just stunned for a second and then when someone's done and you're just like.
That's awesome. Yeah. That is awesome.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Well, listen, can't wait to see you in the flesh. And can't wait. Now, are you going to come early and sort of also help out? Or are you going to be fully in Abby Hamilton, like performer mode? Because we'd love to have you in the behind the scenes. You were great.
I would love to. We've got a wild couple weeks leading up to and after that weekend in New York. So even right now we are scrambling going like, how do we coordinate this full band in New York City and then back to Kentucky and then down to Nashville.
Oh, I see. Yes, you're in the middle of it. We're
right. Gonna figure it out. I don't know how, when, I don't know, but we'll figure it out.
Well, Abby, thank you so much for joining us. And again, can't wait to see you and see your set at the Underwater Sunshine Festival. We should mention again, it's on the 8th and 9th of October, 2021 in New York City. So best of luck. Keep working on that new music. Can't wait to hear some of it. And again, thank you so much for a little time here.
Yeah, thanks, James. I appreciate it.
All right. Peace. See you next time.
Bye.
Yeah, I've had dreams about you dying and it kills me. I'd give you my whole life if it meant it would set you free. But you'll will shoot up and I'll feel it. I'll cry, you'll say you don't need it. La la